Please enjoy this free video taster to give you an insight into what my classes online will be about. I'm very thorough with how I teach, and I will explain all of the materials that I use. This is the HB pencil because it's nice and light. You can't even see the sketch. I work very, very fast, non-contrived. I try not to overcomplicate things because I feel that if you've got a loose sketch, you have a looser painting, potentially, and that's what we're after. Continue with the sketch and do it as light as possible, but just so you can see some outline shapes. I aim for no more than 5 minutes on a sketch. You don't have to worry about any mistakes that you make. You could pull them out with a kneadable putty eraser, but I don't see the point as we can cover these with the colour. The colour will be bold enough in order to do that. And so I always have 2 pots of water, one to clean my brush and one always to transfer the new colours each time. So all I'm doing is putting a light bit of purple, wet purple, onto the shapes that I've sketched out. I use different tones as well, so I pick up a little bit more. Some will be lighter, some will be darker, all depending how much water's on the brush. And I'm using my mummy brush, so this is a medium-sized brush. I've then picked up the green to do some stems and to outline the shapes of the leaves with yellow and green, yellowy green. Now, I don't often mix my colours. I allow them to either pick up together on the brush and mix, or mix on the actual paper. It's entirely up to you, whether you do it on a palette or do it my way. I've now wet around the flowers, clean water from the clean pot, and I'm just moving it liberally around. I don't fill all the gaps either, and I don't give it time to dry before I then choose a background colour. In this case, it's cerulean blue, but you could use any colour you like. I don't tend to be very strict with my learners as to what colours they use because I think we're all different. We all have different choices and preferences. So I keep moving it around. I'm adding a little bit more water here and there because I can feel it drying out at this stage. So you can keep tapping into the water. And then I'm going to strengthen the flowers. So I'm lifting up my pinky purple, and that's a little bit of alizarin crimson with a purple. And again, it doesn't matter what purple you've got in your palette, although I will have a signature set of paints coming out with Schmincke, of which you could purchase going forwards, and so you'll get the vibrancy that I have with these choice colours. I'm just going over as well to strengthen the greeny yellow and washing out my brush so that I can then pick up the black Parker ink, which I'd already put onto a receptacle, just a posh word for a plate, and that's the black Parker ink. Now the black Parker ink can be left for weeks on end because it reconstitutes, and so does watercolour. So if you have to leave a painting midway through, there's no reason why you can't go back to it. Certain inks will dry out and you can't reconstitute, and certain other mediums as well, but here we are fine. And I'm just dropping in some strengths of green and going down the stems again. That's making outlines. I'm almost drawing with the rigger just to get a little bit of detail in there. I work very organically, to be fair, so whilst I have photographs of flowers to follow, I don't worry if I've got an extra petal, an extra leaf. In fact, I'm drawing here and painting an extra leaf where I thought there was a gap in the bottom could be filled. Plus, odd numbers for the leaves work well, a bit like when you're gardening, planting. See, I'm drawing now the purple with the rigger. I'm just doing little flicks, little lines, little shapes, little hatches, little spots here and there, just pulling out shapes until my eyes are happy, really. And then I'm lifting more purple to spatter around the leaves and the flowers. I'll try not to overdo it. And then I'm going to let it dry naturally. "15 minutes later, I've gone back to my painting, which is on a block. It's a watercolour smooth block, Bockingford, and it's all dry, it's all flat, and there's some beautiful patterns. And I'm just enhancing now with my water resistant archival black micron pen. It's a 005. And whenever you do the lessons with me, again, I will be thorough in all the materials that I'm using and the colours. This is a taster, so I can't fit everything in. It's a shorter video for you. I'm using a blade now to scratch out some additional highlights. So whilst I've painted the flowers and the background, having left a lot of the white paper, I can add some additional sparkle by scratching away the ink. You don't need to dig a hole in the paper. In fact, if you've got good quality paper, as I have, you won't easily go through the paper. And I'm using the blade on its side rather than digging in, pointing upwards. I'm more moving towards the side. And if you're not familiar with a blade, I suggest that you practice this first on an old piece just to get the hang of it. I'm re-wetting the rigger and I'm picking up more yellow. I'm always careful to thoroughly wash out my brushes so that all I've got is pure yellow there going onto the black. And if you've got cadmium opaque yellows or any of the cadmium colours, you'll find that they do cover darker colours, so they're advantageous that way. Allow it to dry once again. And as you can see, as I close in, you've got back runs, you've got spatters, you've got beautiful blooms, cauliflowers, whatever you want to call them, the back runs there, those little shapes. And the colours have merged and mingled together quite naturally. It's fully dry again, and I've decided to use my white acrylic FW Daler-Rowney ink. You must shake it because there'll be a surface oily residue on the top. So I shake it up first, put it onto my plate using the pipette, only a little bit. I don't put brushes into my acrylic, I rather take the acrylic out, either using a clean brush or by using the pipette, because I don't want to contaminate the whole of that bottle of liquid. It's expensive, so, and it will last a long, long time. And that's the white acrylic now being spattered to add some additional sparkle to the flowers, just some little highlights. And they do dry a little bit raised with the acrylic. You have to wash the brush out thoroughly. Acrylic will kill your brushes. And there we go, all done.